So now coming to the digestion system, so this is how the diagram looks like. Okay, so and yes, so what is digestion then? Digestion is nothing but it's a process of breakdown of a complex of food substances into simpler food substances until they get absorbed and assimilated from the body. Okay, and this digestive system mainly involves two parts. Okay, so the digestive system of a human is a sum of gastrointestinal tract and accessory organs. So gastrointestinal tract, which is called GIT, is nothing but it's a hollow tubular structure through which the food what we eat passes along. Okay, and it is also called as an alimentary canal, and the second set of organs are called as an accessory organs, where it comprises of liver, pancreas, tongue, etc. Okay, so now let us study about these parts and their functions in depth. Okay, so now coming to the process of digestion, the food what we eat will start its journey from the buccal cavity. The buccal cavity will also have many organs like teeth, tongue, salivary glands, which also takes part in the process of digestion. Okay, so the teeth mainly helps in chewing the food or in grinding the food into smaller particles, so that the salivary gland, which will release the saliva, which has also got an enzyme called salivary amylase, can act upon the food particles evenly, right? And also this salivary amylase enzyme will act on a carbohydrate, and it will convert the complex sugars into simple sugars. Okay, and then the tongue has got a function of pushing the food into this tubular structure called esophagus. Okay, so this esophagus is a muscular tube through which the food what we eat will pass along the line to the stomach. Okay, and one more thing is that, see, the food what we eat will not directly move like uniformly right from your buccal cavity to the stomach through this esophagus. It will not just passes in a single or a uniform motion. See, as I already told you that esophagus is a muscular organ. It has got many muscles, and you know the main characteristic of muscles, so it has got a characteristic of expanding and relaxing, correct? So what happens when the food will pass along this line, the muscles of esophagus will contract and relax, and thus it adds the wavy motion to the food. Okay, so that movement in which the food moves in the form of wave, we call it as a peristaltic movement, and that process we call it as a peristalsis. Okay, so this is very important, you should be knowing about it. So then the food enters to the stomach through this esophagus, and stomach is a muscular organ. It's a sac like structure where the food is stored for some time for the process of digestion. Okay, and the lining, and in the stomach the complete digestion is taken care by the gastric glands, and these gastric glands will be releasing the hydrochloric acid and certain enzymes which will be helping in the process of digestion. Okay. So the inner lining of the stomach will be secreting these many substances. Okay, so it mainly produces the HCl, which is nothing but a hydrochloric acid. So it has got a main function of converting the inactivated form of enzymes into activated form. See, I told you that the stomach will also release an enzyme called pepsin. Okay, this pepsin will be in its inactivated form, purely called as propepsin. Okay, this propepsin will convert into pepsin upon the action of HCl. Okay, so this is one important function of HCl. Also, this hydrochloric acid will kill the germs or the microorganisms which will enter along with the food. So these are the very two important functions of hydrochloric acid. Okay, and coming to this pepsin, the pepsin in its inactivated form, you can call it as a propepsin. When upon the action of HCl, it will convert into pepsin. This is an activated form. Okay, so this pepsin is basically a protein digestive enzyme. So the protein will be converted into either peptides or amino acids. Okay, see, as I already told you before, the main goal of digestive system or the process of digestion is to convert the complex molecules, so the complex food molecules into a simple food molecules, so that your body can absorb it, right? So it's very important thing to know this. The carbohydrates, which is one of the nutrient form, will be converted into the glucose by this digestion process, and proteins into amino acids and fats into fatty acids. So this is the utter goal of this digestion. Okay, so now coming to the last secretion, which is mucus. The stomach also secretes the mucus because, see, I told you that it will be secreting HCl. You know, this is an acid. So in order to protect itself from this acid action, it will be secreting the mucus in order to protect its layer. Okay, so this is all about the stomach. So now the food will enter from stomach to the small intestine directly. Okay, so now the food is in small intestine, but the small intestine will also receive the secretions from your pancreas and the liver. So now let us study which all juices or the enzymes will be secreted by the pancreas and the liver, and how it helps in the process of digestion. Okay. Yes, so now coming to the liver. Liver is roughly a triangular shaped muscular organ where it has got a reddish brown color, which mainly secretes a bile juice, and this bile juice contains a bile salts, which mainly plays a role in the process of emulsification. So what is emulsification then? Emulsification is nothing but it's a process where the larger fat molecules are broken down into smaller chunks of fat molecules. See, here the digestion is not happening. It's just a big molecule is broken down into smaller molecules upon the action of bile salts. So this process we call it as emulsification, and these small chunks of fats, you can call them as emulsified fats. Okay, so now the next important accessory organ was pancreas, correct? So now coming to the pancreas. The pancreas, as you know, that it is both endocrine gland and exocrine gland, right? So endocrine is nothing but this is a part of pancreas will secrete hormones and it will directly release into bloodstream, whereas being exocrine gland, it will release the enzymes through the ducts. Okay, so here the pancreas will release a juice called pancreatic juice, where it will be having enzymes called trypsin and lipase. So the trypsin is a protein digestive enzyme, so it will convert the proteins into amino acids. Okay, and the next is lipase, and this is an enzyme which will act upon the fats and it will convert them into its simpler form where the body can absorb. Okay, so into fatty acids. As I told you before, this bile salts will act on the bigger fat molecules to convert them into emulsified fats. Okay, so this lipase will act upon these emulsified fats, so it will convert these fats into fatty acids. Fine, so this is all about liver and pancreas. So they will directly send their secretions through the ducts to the intestine. So now coming to the small intestine. The small intestine will secrete a small intestinal juice where it has got many enzymes which will finally act upon the food in order to convert to its simpler substances. So the carbohydrates will be converted to its glucose form, and the proteins will be converted into amino acids, and the fats will be finally converting into either fatty acids or glycerol. Okay, so thus the small intestine is also called as a site of complete digestion, because this is the last place where all the left out particles, like I told you, right, in stomach it happens, there is an enzyme called Pepsin, correct? So that is also protein digestive enzyme. There what happens? It will convert proteins into either peptides or amino acids. So few peptides will be left out, which has to be converted to amino acids. So that will also takes place here. So peptides will also convert into amino acids. So this is the reason the small intestine is called as a site of complete digestion. Okay, so next what happens after the conversion of food particles into glucose, amino acids and fatty acids or a glycerol, the intestinal walls, which have got a finger like projections called as villi, okay, will absorb the nutrients and it will be mixing up with the blood. Okay, so the next left out food will be sent through this large intestine, where most of the water would be absorbed from this large intestine, and left out unabsorbed food would be sent out from the body through this anus, or it is defecated through this anus. Okay, so this is all about the digestion process. So in this digestion process, you mainly have to remember which organ will secrete which type of enzyme and on which type of nutrient that enzyme will act upon. Okay, so this is all about digestive process. So in this process mainly you have to remember like which organ will secrete which type of enzyme and which type of enzyme will act upon which kind of nutrients. Like I told you, right, there are like protein digestive enzymes and carbohydrate digestive enzymes and fat digesting enzymes. Like this you have to remember. If you find the video useful, please like and share, and do not forget to subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching.